Welcome to what I learned from Elon Musk Part 2. So I released a video previously on what I learned from the billionaire Elon Musk studying what he's done. There's certain personality traits and way of thinking that I think if you can adopt or learn from, you can think on a higher level, make more money, and have a bigger impact on the world. It's not just about money. So this is part 2, and this is based off learning more about him. So I want to retract partially what I said before, which is that this guy thinks 10 times big. Turns out he's more practical and less crazy in certain ways than I used to think. I thought he was in the league of Richard Branson in terms of certain crazy things, but turns out he's not as, exceptionally crazy as I thought. So one reason I thought that was because I thought that he literally just wanted to go to space, so he literally just spent his money on rocket ships and learned rocket science and went to space. The actual picture is quite different. In fact, he was more practical, and turns out that this guy initially he didn't think it was possible, but he ended up with a small step which eventually led him down this whole road, which was his initial goal was just to see if he could help increase NASA's budget. The basis behind that was, I think, one of the biggest lessons I've learned from him, which is that throughout his entire journey he's always guided by larger impact decisions, not money. In fact, if you watch his interviews and speeches and when he talks about his past, which is, I think, a very different mindset from even millionaires. A lot of millionaires, they're still stuck on this, how do I make more money mindset. And for him, and I see with a lot of billionaires, is sure, there's certain variances of money involved, but more so than that, they're thinking on a higher picture, and it's never been even close to about money. And for Elon Musk, this was probably very low on the list because he kept looking for how, as he put it, how can I impact the world and help it the most in the years to come. And he found that the most pressing issues that the world and humanity had to face in the coming years and decades was, surviving the destruction of the planet, preventing that, and creating alternative energy resources so that we didn't rely on a vastly depleting amount of energy reserves. And we get a lot of it from burning coal, which is pretty much a limited supply of highly pressurized dead carcasses from millions of years ago. That's pretty much how coal is made. And so that is slowly dwindling down until eventually at some point in the future, probably not that soon, but eventually it will hit zero. And he said that this was going to be a huge issue. And so he went to find how to solve these huge problems, rather than what most people do is, how do I get money? And then, as you can see through his successful companies, all of these are actually consequences of his discoveries. SpaceX and Tesla are very clearly based on protecting the environment with electric cars as well as with solar powered devices. PayPal is more of an electronic thing, and that one was more of his first venture, so I'll give him a pass. And then SpaceX is part of his second initiative, which was he really wanted to help the world out in terms of interplanetary exploration and congregation. And that's why his goal was to help NASA, which ultimately evolved into him starting his own company to build his own rockets. But long story short, the big things I learned from Elon is that the first thing is that he focuses more on these bigger picture things. with NASA, like his goal was, I need to help NASA out. How can I help increase NASA's budget? How can I make space exploration a more relevant thing so that they will increase NASA's budget, because it's, I think it's incredibly important for the future of humanity. Oh, maybe I can do this small project that will help NASA out. And that's kind of how he did it. So the first thing is bigger picture thinking. Second thing is small practical steps leading to God knows what in the future. In his case, billion-dollar companies. And then the third thing is just the whole fact that he executes, and he's really a hugely hard worker. Like, this guy works 80, 90 hours a week. And so that all together, it really makes for a crazy person, because he is a bit crazy, similar to a lot of billionaires in certain ways. Not all of them. Some are very practical, but if you look at Jack Ma of Alibaba, they call him Crazy Jack. And he did a lot of crazy things too that were out of the box, and people thought he was ridiculous. But now Alibaba is one of the biggest companies in the world. So you have to keep all these things in mind. And I don't think necessarily you have to be crazy or think ridiculous. But it is interesting to see. And I think, as Richard Branson says, it's always good to have a crazy maverick on your team that thinks in weird ways that you would never think, because by doing that, you can maybe come up with a solution that's just you wouldn't have thought of otherwise, because you ruled it out or you didn't think of it. And that's what led Elon Musk to go to Russia and spend his own money on 2 refurbished rocket ships, which the Russians thought he was crazy, but he had money and he did it. And look at him now. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you next video.